Good. So, good evening. We'll begin our Kashrus class this evening. Last week we listed a whole bunch of things which might keep us from entering a non-kosher restaurant. And we said that these were things beyond just basic ingredients. However, tonight let's talk about basic ingredients and the types of things that disqualify themselves as kosher. We've gone through most of these before, but hopefully now the dust has settled, and so you're familiar with these concepts, and you can maybe see them in a new light now. I would like to reiterate that the whole purpose of this is not that it stays on a theoretical level, but that we implement and do. So Okay. So types of prohibited foods, and we are, for our Kashrus class, we're not going to follow this 100%, but we're going to rely often on the laws of Kashrus by Rabbi Benjamin Forst, who has a series of books in different areas of halacha. Always very good, very well organized. I can highly recommend them. Okay, so what types of basic input ingredients are prohibited? Okay, so the first that we have is a behema tamea.
Is that pork?
Unkosher animal.
Yes, right. I'm not right, but tamea. Karen.
Tame is unclean.
Right. So, or impure. Right. Good. So impure animals, literally. So non-kosher animals. So we know that the Torah prohibits us from eating any animal that doesn't have two distinctive simanim, two signs. Siman is a word that comes up quite often, not only in halacha, but now that we've gotten to the parsha of Avraham Avinu and Sarah Imenu, then we say Maze Avos Siman Labanim, that the deeds of the forefathers are a sign to the children. Meaning that in these parshas we are absorbing a lot of the midos of the avos and the imahos, of the fathers and mothers. So that's another place where we use the name siman. So kosher animals thus have to have two distinctive simanim, which are
Chewing
cud, good, and split hooves, excellent. Okay, so that gives us cows, goats, sheep, deer, bison, gazelle, antelope, ibex, addax, and giraffe. All of these animals have both of these characteristics and are considered a behemoth tohora, meaning a clean animal, kosher animals. Okay, so the children like to say that the pig is dishonest. It shows its split hoof, but it doesn't chew its cud. Right? So the pig is always trying to fool us, putting its split hoof into the mix of things, but doesn't chew cud. So a camel chews its cud but has no split hooves. So both of these animals are therefore considered behemoth tamea, unclean, non-kosher animals. Okay. Now, one footnote here that Esteban pointed out. The Talmud in Chulin 60b comments on Moshe Rabbeinu's incredible knowledge of the different animal species. Was Moshe Rabbeinu a hunter or an archer? This refutes those who maintain that the Torah is not of divine origin. So the Malbim notes that the Torah endangered its credibility by listing only 4 animals that possess a single semen. The gamal, the camel, the arneves, and the shafan that ruminate but have no cloven hooves, and the chazer, a pig, who possesses the single characteristic of the split hoof. He cites the Talmudic conclusion in Chulin 59a that since the Torah lists only these species, apparently no other species exist that have split hooves and do not ruminate, do not chew their cud. Thus the Talmud rules in Shulchan Aruch 79.1, as cited in Shulchan Aruch 79.1, that if one is in the desert and finds an animal with a mutilated mouth, and one cannot discern whether or not it is a ruminator, he could examine whether the hooves are split. If the hooves are split, and he is certain that the animal is not a pig, he may eat it. Similarly, one who finds an animal with mutilated hooves should examine its mouth to determine whether it is a ruminant. If it is a ruminant, and the animal is certainly not a gamal, arneves, or shafan, he may eat it. The Talmud explains, Hashem is the master of the universe. He knows that no other non-ruminating beast exists with cloven hooves besides the pig, and no other ruminators with non-cloven hooves exist besides the gamal, the arneves, and the shafan. In addition, the Torah lists only 10 species that have both simanim. Naturalists have explored every corner of the globe and have discovered many new species that were unknown to the ancients. To date, they have not discovered any new species that ruminates and has cloven hooves or possesses only one of the 2 characteristics. Does this not attest to the divine origin of the Torah?
Can I ask a question? So if you find an animal and you can examine its mouth and you can't tell from the hooves because they're mixed up, like, what do you see in the mouth that you know what chews cud? What would you see that you could tell that?
That's a good question with the mouth. I mean, maybe there are pockets in the mouth, but really...
With what you read, there must be something that indicates it.
Right, but I thought that it was the stomach. They have, like a cow has a separate stomach.
But they're saying to examine the mouth.
Right, I know.
I think the teeth, they don't have all the teeth are flat in a sense. I don't think
they don't have any fangs, sort of?
I think so. I think the cows have that something.
Yeah, I forget for sure. It's discussed in Chulin, which is where all of these laws are brought down in the Gemara. So yeah, I'll look into it. Okay. All right. So, good evening, Jerry. So that's then prohibited food number 1, a behema tamea. So a non-kosher animal, that is an animal that doesn't have the 2 distinctive simanim, so that it chews its cud, it ruminates, and that it has completely cloven hooves. Okay. Number 2 then is an oaf tame. So a non-kosher fowl. An oaf is a bird. And tame is impure. The Torah similarly differentiates between kosher and non-kosher fowl. Unlike animals, the Torah gives no simanim to differentiate between kosher and non-kosher fowl. So it lists in Parshas Shmini then 24 types of forbidden fowl. All other fowl are assumed to be kosher.
Hawks are not kosher.
I'm sorry?
Hawks of all kinds, like eagles, they're not kosher.
Right.
Like eagles and peregrine falcons and stuff.
Right. That's true. But they're listed.
I wonder if all predatorial birds are not kosher because they would be eating other animals that aren't kosher. So I wonder if the category of predators might like designate, like if you have this really sharp beak, that's part of a predator with the talons. Like probably, well actually turkeys have talons too, but they really don't have like hawk-like, they're not predatorial animals. They eat vegetable stuff, I think. I'm just curious about that, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So even though the 24 types of forbidden fowl are listed and all other fowl are assumed to be kosher, Sinaitic oral tradition does provide signs to identify non-kosher fowl, which are enumerated in Yoredea 82:2. However, since we lack the experience to apply these rules, we are permitted to eat only those fowl traditionally accepted as kosher. Okay. See Yoredea 82 regarding conflicting traditions. And you mentioned the turkey, so where there are conflicting traditions.
The dilemma is there were no turkeys in that area at the time, making it harder to come up with a clear rule.
Right, but all other fowl are assumed to be kosher that aren't on the list of 24. So I guess it would be that maybe a turkey does have talons, as you just said, and that might link it to one of these other birds. Or,
except they may not be a meat eater, so it might be one of those things where one of the categories it's no good, but maybe other categories it passes.
Right. The Torah itself doesn't give any reasons why these birds aren't kosher. Okay. See You are day 82.4, where the Shulchan Aruch rules that one who finds himself in a community that has a tradition of eating a particular species of fowl may eat that species, although he plans to eventually return to his own community, which has no such tradition. This differs from the usual rule that one is bound to his own tradition, since in this case, the tradition of not eating these fowl is simply for lack of a definite tradition, not a definite tradition to eat these fowl as non-kosher. Okay, all variations of the common chicken are accepted as kosher. Similarly, common domestic ducks, geese, and doves are considered kosher. Many Sephardic communities have a tradition that the quail is a kosher fowl. With the appearance of turkeys, poskim question whether a reliable tradition exists about their kashrus. Common custom today accepts turkeys as kosher fowl. There is no definitive tradition about the status of a pheasant, peacock, guinea hen, partridge, swan, or certain species of wild ducks, geese, pigeons, and doves. Therefore, they should not be eaten. The eggs of any kosher fowl are also forbidden to be eaten.
How about pheasants?
No definitive tradition about the status of a pheasant. Igros Moshe. So Rabbi Moshe Feinstein then said that there's no definitive tradition. So that would be where we would land.
Then if you're Orthodox, you wouldn't need it because it's not
Then
clear.
if you are an Orthodox American Jew, you wouldn't need it. Ashkenazic American Jew, let's say. Okay.
Let's do the foreign code. Because I remember you telling us we couldn't eat ostrich eggs.
I think we explored that one. Right. All right. Third category of biblically prohibited input ingredients. Nevela.
Is there another name for that?
Well,
Warning. So it means like something that's been killed incorrectly.
Oh, that's what novella is.
Nevela. So he translates it as carrion.
Yeah, I was going to say that word.
Right. Roadkill.
I was just going to say that. I didn't
So-
know if you wanted me to.
Roadkill without the car, maybe.
So we can't, if we hit a deer, then we can't take the deer home with us and eat it. So every animal has to be ritually slaughtered. Okay, and an animal slaughtered improperly or an animal that died in any other manner is a nevela and may not be eaten.
If you hit a deer but it's still alive and then you slaughter it properly, is it then eatable? animal?
No, because that's the fourth category. It's mortally injured. It's a treifa, right? So treif is sometimes used as a general term for like non-kosher meat, but really it's a specific thing that it was mortally injured or mortally ill, and that's why. So skipping over to the fourth category, then we'll come back to nevela. So treifa is what they're looking for when they examine the lungs after they've slaughtered the animal, to see whether the lungs are glatt, which means smooth, literally, and because if they've had certain respiratory diseases, then there will be scars on the lungs, and so the lungs aren't glatt, and a certain degree of that in the lungs then would disqualify the animal as being kosher. It would be a treifa then, because it had a mortal sickness. Okay, so let's get some more details about a nevela. So carrion or roadkill. Okay, so nevela can be caused by the shechita process itself, by the slaughtering process itself. So if the shochet messes up, then he's created a nevela. So this animal would be disqualified as kosher for Jews, but could be sold to non-Jews then. But the value of the animal goes way down.
But would the slaughterer be the only one who knew it was done improperly, or is this something you could easily see?
The slaughterer would be the only one who knew this. So this is a very God-fearing person. And because he's got a lot of pressure on him to make sure that he's slaughtering properly, because the animal is worth a considerable amount of money, and so if he messes up, then he's got to tell the owner, and if he doesn't,
it's a very big no-no.
Hashem knows. He's the eye that sees, so he's got to come clean. And so these are very God-fearing people. Okay, so a treifa is the fourth category, as we already said, and these are mortally injured or mortally ill animals or fowl, which as a result of a birth defect, disease, or inflicted wound, suffers from a mortally defective organ or limb, or an animal close to death may be considered a treifa. So, these defects are enumerated by Chazal based on Sinaitic tradition. A defect not listed by Chazal does not render the animal a treifa, even if, according to current medical knowledge, the animal is certain to die shortly. So conversely, a defect that is listed by Chazal renders the animal treifa regardless of current medical opinion. For example, an animal lacking certain organs, an animal with certain organ walls perforated, or certain bones fractured is considered a treifa. Thus, even if one slaughters a kosher animal properly, it may nevertheless be unkosher to eat it if it is afflicted by any of these injuries. Right? And sometimes this is only determined after the animal has been slaughtered. So although every animal and fowl is assumed to be free of any of these injuries and need not be examined, the lung of an animal must be examined after slaughtering to ascertain that the animal suffers no abnormality that renders it a treifa. This examination is called a bedika, or bedikas harea. Okay, bedika, we know this term from where?
Mishpacha.
From Taharas Mishpacha, from family purity laws. Where else do we know this from?
Wedding ceremony, where the Bedika cloth. Bedika. Is it the same or not?
No. Forget the word for a second. Think of it.
Comes from the word bedibit?
No. Bedika is an examination or an inspection. Passover, Pesach. Bedika is chametz.
Oh.
When we go and search the house, on the night of Erev Pesach to determine whether all of the chametz has actually been taken out. But here we're talking about a check of the lungs. So, okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Can a Jewish person derive, like because it has an irregularity or something, it's not kosher, can't eat it, but could he then turn around and sell it to a non-Jew and derive benefit?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh. I have a question. Can we buy food? Oh, can we, like, for some mistake, we have non-kosher food, or someone give us non-kosher food, can we give that one, the kosher food, to another person?
The non-kosher food? Yeah, sure.
Not to a Jew.
Not to you, of course.
Right. Good evening, Aaron. Okay. So Rabbi Force says the rules of treif are of great relevance in the slaughtering house, but rarely affect the Jewish home, since most meats are delivered, prepared, and packaged. One must, however, be aware of certain rules of treif as they affect the kashrus of fowl, since one may purchase a complete fowl that has broken limbs. One who notices a broken wing or a leg or a discolored drumstick should consult your local rabbi. So, so the fifth category of biblically prohibited foods input ingredients are shratzim, so asherets, which is, yes.
What was the answer?
Excellent.
A rat.
A rat?
Yeah. So, it has different meanings, but yeah, these are swarming insects and rodents. So asherets is also a rat. So the Rambam famously talks about going into the mikveh with the sherets in your hand. Yeah. So if you're not going to give up the sherets, then you're not going to become ritually pure in the mikveh. Is the point. This is a really excellent saying of the Rambam. Yeah, it's like going into a mikveh with the sherets in your hand. Okay. So the Torah prohibits us from eating any rodents, worms, amphibians, or creeping, swimming, or flying insects.
Except for locusts for Sephardics.
Certain locusts, right. One who eats fruits or vegetables in which worms, ants, or mites are commonly found must examine the fruit carefully before eating. One type of insect, however, is permitted. The Torah describes, as Kalman just said, the features of certain species of locusts that are permitted. These are enumerated in Shulchan Aruch. However, today we lack a definite tradition about which species are allowed and therefore do not eat locust. So, but like Kalman said, here we go. Certain Sephardic communities do have a tradition as to which locusts are kosher. All right. Category 6, a dog tame. So what is a...
Fish.
Good. So a dog tame is
A pure fish.
an impure fish, right? Like a catfish, right? So because fish need two simanim, two signs. What do fish
Fins
need?
and
Scales.
scales.
Fins and scales. Fins and scales. All right. Very
My favorite
good.
example there is the sturgeon that has scales at one part of its life, but doesn't have it in other parts of its life. I can't remember if it's when it's young or it's old, but I think you explained once that the sturgeon is just pulled off limits.
Right. Caviar. So beluga caviar is off the table here.
No caviar.
There are other types. So
other fish.
fish eggs from other kosher fish are okay.
Okay, like whiting fish, that kosher.
Whiting fish is kosher, yes.
Those eggs are kosher too, right?
So its eggs would be kosher. I don't know that they eat those eggs, but they have certain types of, I don't know whether they call them caviar, but
No, the roe, it's called roe with flounders and fluke. Flounders especially, the females would have these sacs of eggs that was called roe, R-O-W. It's actually fairly tasty.
right. No, I'm not sure whether the things that they package and sell as kosher, that are kosher, whether they're calling this caviar or not. Might call it roe, I'm not sure.
You told us the last time about the fake crab.
Right.
It's not really like the best thing possible.
No. It's
Crab? Fake crab?
Fake crab?
crab.
What's the word?
Crab.
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 No, I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't say.
It's okay?
There's no
Yeah,
crab
yeah.
that's kosher, is it?
Right. No, there is
It's made
no.
out of white fish.
Oh, it's fake. Oh, fake. That's the word you were saying. Fake crab, I see.
Yeah, whitefish or.
Pollock.
I'm sorry.
Usually made out of pollock.
Well, catfish, I thought that was like a staple of
No, it's fine. I didn't. We were talking about Bali Teshuva, so things like this help some people to get by in the early stages of going kosher. You know? That's yeah. Uh-oh. My meeting just went off. There we go.
Is it charged?
Yeah, no. Okay. We're back. Okay, so Rabbi Forst writes, some fish have very small scales and still others lose their scales upon being removed from the water. They are nevertheless permitted. Similarly, fish that presently have no scales but will develop them in the future are permitted. Any fish that has scales certainly has fins. Thus, if one finds a piece of fish that has scales, one may assume that it had fins as well. Yoredea 83:3. Wow. Certain organs, wrong one. Swimming creatures that are not fish, that is, seahorse or squid, are included in the prohibition of sheretz hamayim. So now we can figure out this Hebrew term.
Yeah. Insects of the sea.
Excellent. Insects of the sea. Great. Okay.
Let's not forget the Leviathan is kosher.
The Leviathan is kosher.
That's if you can catch it.
He's going to catch you.
Okay, so number 7 in terms of our categories of biblically prohibited foods, so input foods, dam,
Blood.
blood. Excellent.
What?
Blood.
Blood.
So the Torah forbids eating the blood of even a kosher animal or fowl. Thus, after slaughtering, all meat to be cooked must be salted beforehand. This is called malicha, and this is one of the 3 main areas of kashrus. So we have, as the 3 main areas of kashrus, we have teruvos, which are mixtures. We have basar v'chalav, so meat and milk. And we have malicha, salting. So
What was the first one?
teruvos. Teruvos. This is, and it's absolutely the hardest part. So this is, I'm sorry, mixtures.
Mixtures.
And we'll get into some of the laws of teruvos later. Not this evening, but so later in our classes. Okay. But yeah, all meat to be cooked must be salted beforehand to get the blood out. So certain organs require special treatment to rid them of their blood, like liver. Aaron pointed that out. The liver is so permeated with blood that only broiling can remove that blood. Fish blood is permitted unless it is gathered in a vessel, in which case it may be confused with animal blood and is forbidden by rabbinic decree unless it is recognizable as fish blood, that it contains fish scales, for example. Okay. Number 8, chalev. Think mitzbeach.
Degrees.
But that's excellent. Yeah.
Where?
Fats.
Oh, fats.
Yeah. So the fats on certain internal organs must be removed from a kosher slaughtered animal, cattle, or kosher slaughtered cattle, sheep, or goat before the meat may be eaten. This prohibition applies to commonly domesticated animals only. So behemoths, cattle, sheep, and goats, not to fowl or wild forest animals, chayas. Removal of the forbidden fats is a difficult task and must be done by a skilled expert. This process is called nikur, and it is usually done in the slaughtering house. At times, butchers themselves must do nikur. Thus, it is not sufficient to merely obtain meat with a proper slaughtering supervision. One must also determine that the butcher is a skilled, knowledgeable, and God-fearing individual who does nikur under proper rabbinical supervision.
Is any meat we buy that's kosher, is it a sure thing it's been salted already?
Nowadays, for the most part, yes.
So we're never under obligation to do it ourselves because we can assume it's been done already.
Right.
Okay.
Um,
If we hunt, is it okay to hunt for meat and get your own meat that way? Didn't you say recently that that's not okay?
right. How we can trap.
You can trap it, but not kill it.
Right. But if we trap it, we've also got to be careful not to injure it. Right. So, like if we broke its leg,
Then it would be treif.
then it might be treif. Good. So, but and Jews have always been good trappers too. So
That's why in all the story of the Torah we don't have hunters. We only have shepherds. Right?
right, or that maybe Esav
He was a hunter.
he was a hunter.
That's why he's not
Right.
part of Nimrod was a hunter. So right? But
Maybe
Nimrod
you're
was
thinking of Nimrod's coat that Esav had.
another-
No, but no, it's true that coat had the power to make the animals docile, and that's why Esav was such a successful hunter.
Ishmael has the same. He did the same too?
Yeah, I think he hunted as well.
You told us something about that, about what meat does to us, like transfers kind of like this, like a spiritual transmission in a sense.
Right,
That we have to lower a little bit because transfer.
right. The Arizal, which is, I think Yosef Karo brings the Arizal down in the Shulchan Aruch. So Yosef Karo was a Talmud of the Arizal, amazingly. So if we want to think about the impact of the hidden Torah on the revealed Torah, then you don't have to go any further than that fact, right? That the author of the Mechaber, the author of the Shulchan Aruch, was a Talmud of the greatest Kabbalist in modern times. So, and talking about eating organs and liver and heart. So the heart is kosher, would have to be prepared in a fashion similar to the liver because of all of the blood that's coursed through it. But
Chicken gizzards.
one moment, but the Arizal said that it's coming too close to the behemah. Yeah. That even though it's kosher, you might ask yourself, do you really need to eat this? Right, because this was literally the life center of the animal.
Maybe can be one of the reasons, maybe not the entire reason, but maybe the secondary reason why all the fowls, birds,
Without an F, fowl.
well, all are not carnivorous. The prohibited ones are carnivorous in a sense.
Right, that's what Kalman said.
And also the behemoths, the horse, also are like kind of like omnivores. Well, they don't. Well, mostly like how to say.
Herbivores.
Herbivores.
Right. Mm. Right.
Because they don't deal with that eating meat for surviving.
Mm-hmm.
And then we eat that meat too, because they don't have that transfer of the spirit in a sense.
Right.
Could be a secondary reason, not the main one.
Chicken livers and chicken gizzards are okay?
Yes.
Good.
We had chicken livers last Shabbos. So,
There's something of the birds that have here.
that's the gizzard. That's
And that's the gizzard. Can we
Yeah.
eat that one?
yeah.
And that's
Very good if you prepare it right.
that's good.
But you put, like, recently we dealt with this, but I can't remember, so I'm going to ask, like, the best chicken liver I ever had, maybe it wasn't kosher because there was, like, at Sammy's Romanian, which is ridiculously expensive. I don't know if they're strictly kosher, but they would serve chicken fat like in jars like this. People, instead of ketchup, would just put chicken. But chicken fat was like what made the chicken liver, the chopped liver, taste so good. But didn't you say something recently where there's some problem with putting chicken fat in with the chopped liver because it's.
No, I think we were just talking about preparing the liver itself.
So that there would be no problem with putting chicken fat into the chopped liver. Okay.
Once the liver's been properly prepared.
Okay.
So.
Has to be kosher chicken fat, but can't be just any chicken fat that you don't know.
Right.
So that would mean it was raised by Jewish farmers? What's the difference between kosher and non-kosher chicken fat?
Same thing as kosher and non-kosher meat. It has to be
Prepared by proper
and
utensils and everything.
shechted and all the steps have to be
I see.
followed.
Okay.
That's like getting into like kosher style. You know, you got to be careful. If you go to a place that's kosher style, for sure it's not kosher.
I guess the word style gives it away.
I think in New York State that's not allowed. You can't say kosher style.
That restaurant in Chinatown I took a picture of just because I was curious. It didn't say style, it said kosher.
No,
I
I
still
know.
don't know for sure if it was or wasn't.
Okay, so
It's a vegetarian kosher place.
and I don't know whether you sent me this before, like a while ago, or
sent it just a
somebody,
couple days
no, I know, somebody else or showed me. I knew about this place, and checked into it. So now that this question comes up, then let's deal with this a little. So what do we do if we're walking through Manhattan and we see a kosher or something that's billing itself as a kosher restaurant, right? So
I don't know from what you sent me what the answer is.
okay, so yeah, the first thing then we want to do is we want to go and we want to check its toldus kashrus. And so there should be a kashrus certificate there, right? And if it's from a recognized kosher agency, then yeah, b'vakasha, then there's no problem. If this is OU, so the Orthodox Union, or if this is OK, so then no problem. But let's say that it's not one of the major agencies that whose hechsher symbol you know, and you don't know what this is. Okay, so the CRC, the Chicago Rabbinical Council, has an excellent list of kosher organizations in the world, actually, and so you can go to that website and search there to see if they're on the CRC list. Okay, now if they're not on the CRC list, so for example this kashrus agency that you're talking about at this vegan Chinese restaurant?
Is it Chinese?
Yeah, vegan Chinese.
Vegetarian, yes.
Right, in Manhattan, so is under Cup K.
Is that good or bad?
Right, and they're not on the CRC list. All right, so
So it's not Klatko.
now I don't want to. We've got to be careful here because there are plenty of local rabbis who give hashgachas, right? And so you want to dan lechavschus. You want to give people the benefit of the doubt, meaning you don't want to just rule it out without reason. Yeah, I mean this all under the proviso that you want to be very careful about what you're ingesting, right? So you want to make sure that this is a trustworthy source. Okay, but at the same time, you don't want to, so I give a hashgacha on the babka bailout, right? So I know what the limits of the trust that people are going to put in that hashgacha are, right? So some people that are very, very careful aren't going to eat.
The same one.
That's the same one you've been at?
I went to one that looks the same, but it was kosher, but it was not a vegetarian one. It was a different, but it had the same look though. It was in.
Maybe it was you. Maybe you gave me this question, and I looked into it.
I don't know if it was, but it looks the same though. But it was in the downtown in New York. So it was a kosher Chinese restaurant.
Right. I think it was the same hechsher, was the same rabbi. Okay.
It was Pesach, I remember, and I didn't know in that time too much stuff.
Right.
So I didn't really understand it that it was going to be a complicated situation. You have noodles in Pesach. So.
Right, man. Oh, gosh. Yes. Okay. Some things are giveaways. If you go in and they're open on Pesach and they have noodles on Pesach, then you can turn around and. Okay, but other times then the investigation might be a little more difficult, right? So first of all, if it's a vad, if it's a board, a kashrus.
That looks a little bit like you.
Yeah,
got that in the window.
I
Say,
saw
Come
that.
on in,
I
it's
saw
kosher."
that. I saw that.
Doesn't that look like her?
It does actually. So. So if it's the local vad, right, then you can. They normally have websites, and you can see the qualifications of the people that are on the vad, right? And normally these are very. It's true. Normally these are very qualified people, and certainly all of the vadim around in the New York area are highly trustworthy. Yeah. So in our case, we have the RCBC, the Rabbinical Council of Bergen County, which does Teaneck and Englewood, and they're very reliable, very well organized, and
you mentioned Cup K.
This is Cup K. So now that's a trick a little bit because it's not Kof K, which is a very good hechsher, right? So it's Cup K.
That's going to fool a lot of people.
Right, it's going to fool a lot of people. So, okay, so let's go back to this particular case. So I checked the CRC website, it wasn't there. So I Googled a little to see what people were saying. Now this is a slippery slope. So you don't necessarily, although normally the type of people that are posting these things are from people, and so they don't want to slander
But it
people.
could be staged.
But you never know, and so you've got to be careful if they're beating up on somebody, right? So let's say if they're beating up on somebody, then you've got to check deeper, right? Because it could be that this person deserves being beaten up. So what did I do when Esteban brought me this question? So it was this organization, and so I ended up speaking. There's a list of kosher restaurants that Kehilas Jeshurun in the Upper East Side publishes, and so I spoke with the rabbi that puts this list together, and who also works for the OU, and he said about this, no, we do not rely on this. So, and when he said that, then that's good for me. Yeah, I don't need to know anymore. So this particular rabbi allows the places that are under his supervision to be open on Shabbos. So there are tons of potential problems with that. Not to say that it's completely out of possibility. So if there are restaurants in Israel or restaurants, there's a restaurant in Prague, for example, I know, that's open on Shabbos, but you prepay and all of the food is cooked beforehand, right? And
but they're still carrying the food out. Isn't that a forbidden labor? Oh, that the Eruv is within the restaurant.
Right, no. So you prepay and you go and eat there during Shabbos. Right.
So they're allowed
And
to bring
hotels in Israel work this way, and
That's nice.
so
That's pretty good.
no, that's so there are ways to do it in kosher, in very, very kosher settings. So like mehadrin, so the best of the best, right?
Question, wouldn't there be a problem with causing people to work on Shabbos? Even though, maybe they were only just serving it, or just by having to go there, and open up.
So how non-Jews are organized, I mean, it would depend, is it a Jewish owner or not? But let's say, in this case, it's not a Jewish owner. So they're then under no obligation to have their employees rest, and how they organize their business is their business.
I know some people that won't even mail a letter on Thursday because it might cause a postal worker to work on Shabbos. It's that close to Shabbos.
No, that's not.
I know people like that.
Right. Okay.
Especially they won't mail it on Friday.
So, if you give a non-Jew a task and expect this done, let's say Motzi Shabbos, that the non-Jew would only have Shabbos to work on, then you can't do that. But you could post a letter, Friday morning, and there's no concern about that, because how the non-Jew organizes his time is his business. So if he wants to work on Saturday where he could work on Sunday, then it's not a problem. So, okay, so going back to this case, in other words, sometimes these things require a lot of investigation. You don't want to find yourself in a strange place, looking for kosher restaurants off the cuff, right? You want to do your investigations before, so that if it's not so simple, then you have time to get all of the questions answered. But you absolutely have to be careful, because there are really irresponsible people out there that are calling things kosher when they are not kosher. And so here in New Jersey, you can see the state has a kosher certificate, and as long as the place is keeping what they reported that they would do. So they could have reported that they were serving milk and meat together, right? So, but as long as they're actually doing that, then it's okay. And then on these certificates too, they get a little confusing because there's an option: milk and meat will not be served in this premises, or will be served in this premises. And so sometimes, it's not at all clear. But
it's a challenge task in the beginning. for newcomers, it's a little bit a lot of investigation. But
right. So, but on our website, actually, we have a link to the KJ list of restaurants in Manhattan.
Oh.
We also have some suggestions of restaurants which need to be updated, actually, in Teaneck, and there, or in Englewood, and there, you can rely on the RCBC. So, and there are tons of restaurants in Teaneck.
Nice.
So, yeah, tons. So, okay. So, a couple more, or let's quickly get through the other biblically prohibited foods, meaning primary input ingredients. Okay, we just had chalev, which are the fats. Gid hanashe. What's the gid hanashe?
What is it called?
Right, the sciatic nerve. Okay,
Sciatic.
where does this prohibition come from?
Jacob, when he wrestled with the angel.
Exactly.
Fought him to a standstill, actually.
It fought him to a standstill. So the Torah prohibits eating the gid hanashe, the sciatic nerve, in both hind thighs of any kosher land animal, domesticated or wild. The difficult process of the removal of the nerve and the fat surrounding it is also called nicker, which we had before, and must be done with great care by a God-fearing, skilled expert. In most countries, the hind part of an animal is not eaten at all, thereby avoiding entirely the difficult process of removing the prohibitive fats and nerves. So I told you the story about Rome, where they claim to have a tradition. But this traditional was only a couple of hundred years old, of knowing how to carve out the gid hanashe, and so the Chazan family came as the first shluchim of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and after several years they got the community to give up this tradition. So because it was one of the only places in the world where they were doing this. So.
In the time of the temples, did the Kohanes eat that type of meat if they had someone who could remove it properly, or would they just pass on it because it was too tricky?
Yeah, good question. I mean, it's not like they were both hind thighs of any kosher land animal.
I know you said it's from like the rear part of like the filet mignon. You were saying maybe the filet mignon's a problem because that's really close to the tendon we're talking about, especially when you get to the rear part
Filet
of the filet
mignon
mignon.
is a problem.
So did the Kohanes say it's a problem, or would they say, look, we got a really good Schechter guy who can do this?
Right. I've got to explore that. Yeah.
How was that derived from? We all know that the story about Jacob.
Right.
Well, how did they?
That's it. The Torah just comes straight out and says that, and to remember this event, then the children of Israel aren't going to eat the Gita Nashe until this day.
Yeah, but where does it say that?
In the Torah.
It says to remember the event.
Let's see.
Which rabbinical, whatever court or whoever derived it, pertained to an animal.
It's not even right.
Torah.
It comes straight from the Torah.
Where?
I'm trying to find it right now, but
Maybe it's not a relevant question. Maybe we should just skip it.
one moment. Okay. So it's in Vayishlach. And it says, so Yaakov called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen the divine face to face, yet my life was spared. The sun rose for him as he passed Penuel, and he was limping on his hip. Therefore the children of Israel are not to eat the displaced sinew on the ball of the thigh bone to this day, because he struck the ball of Yaakov's thigh bone on the displaced sinew. The Gid Hanashe.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay.
So Rashi says, why is it called by the name the displaced sinew? Because it popped out of its place and moved upward. The word nashe means literally jumping. Similarly, their strength has sprung away, and similarly, for God has made me spring away from all of my hardship. That's Rashi.
Okay, I didn't exactly know what the source was. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, number 10. Ever mina chai.
Either word.
Chai. Think chai.
The what?
Life.
Yes.
You can't eat
Living
a
animals.
limb off of a living animal.
Exactly. A limb from a living creature. That's why I was looking at you. You just brought this up not
That's
so
part of
long
the
ago.
Noahic laws also.
Right. So, right, it was part of the
Is that the right word?
Noahide lies.
rule. Okay.
So, one may not eat a limb of an animal or fowl that was removed while the animal was alive. Although this prohibition does not apply to fish, one should nevertheless not eat part of a fish while the fish is alive. Incidentally, the law of Ever Min HaChai is the only law of kashrus that applies to non-Jews as well.
Oh, that's interesting.
Thus, a Jew may not provide a non-Jew with Ever Min HaChai meat, since by doing so he assists him in transgressing a Torah law.
Is that because it's really desecrating the sacred in such a profound way that they extend it to non-Jews? Because that's usually not done.
It's one
No,
of the
because,
seven Noahic
right, you
laws.
just said it was
You
one of
said
the
it's
seven
one
laws.
Noahide laws.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, here's a hard one, but maybe we did go through this in Erevin. Tevel.
Part of the Truma.
Part of Truma, you mean associated with Truma, right. So produce from which the tithes were not removed yet. Yeah. So one may not eat fruits and vegetables grown in Eretz Israel unless they the required trumos and maestros were set aside. Now, this applies today. So unfortunately, when we see fruit from Israel, then we have to ask ourselves, was truma taken? Were truma and maestros taken here? So and because in the sabbatical year, so every 7 years, then Jewish farmers in Eretz Israel are letting their land go fallow, and so if produce shows up all of a sudden in Chutz La'aretz, so outside of Israel, it's a warning sign. It's a warning sign that it could be tevel, so which means that the tithes haven't been taken from this produce. And this is applicable today. And so Shemitah, which is the sabbatical year, is kept today too. It's a fantastic thing. So that every 7 years, then religious farmers let their fields go fallow. So, and Hashem promises in the Torah that He will give twice as much, so that the farmers will be able to survive. And Jewish farmers in Eretz Israel have always done this. And this is applicable today, and so it's also a problem for us. So outside of Israel, when people are trying to sell things that haven't been properly tithed, tevel, it's called. So one may not eat fruits and vegetables grown in Eretz Israel unless the required trumos and maestros were set aside. It is common today that fresh fruits and vegetables, or even orange juice concentrate, are imported from the Holy Land. These fruits may not be eaten without setting aside these tithes beforehand. One should consult a competent local rabbi as to the proper procedure for tithing.
You don't need science to prove anything about the Bible, but it's noteworthy that if you didn't rest the ground on the seventh year, whatever plants you keep planting there would rob the soil of certain nutrients, because each type of plant like emphasizes different elements or minerals within the soil that it uses. So if you kept planting the same thing year after year and you never gave the seventh year, the soil would become relatively sterile at some point. But the seventh year of laying fallow allows it to regenerate.
Mm-hmm.
Although just for Eretz Israel, the tithing, right? Or my question is, so what happens if we go to the forest and we see these silver trees, like, I don't know, grapes, like, I don't know, there are like you go to the forest and you see these trees that have some fruits in it, you take it, or it's not really...
Is nature different if it's growing in nature?
Wait a minute. What's your question?
Like a wild fruit, can you take it and eat it, or not?
Right. So, I mean, there are different questions there. So, if you're asking, so trumas and maestros, then it's not applicable outside of Israel, of the land of Israel, right? So,
but if it's the wilderness in Israel, then you still doesn't even.
Right, and that's the second question. I mean, it's Geneva. It could be stealing, right? So you don't want to.
Meaning it could be someone's property?
Yeah, it could be somebody's property, right? So, right, and so.
But if you knew it wasn't somebody's property somehow, then it would be okay to take it from the wilderness?
If you knew that it wasn't somebody's property.
Right.
If you knew that it was grew wild, no? So if there are indications that it could be that the plant itself could be somebody's property or was planted there deliberately, then it might be. Then you couldn't call it hefker. You couldn't call it abandoned or so. Like there, we would ask: are there simanim? So, are there signs that that indicate that this is somebody's property?
Well, that would only be applicable to non-perennial plants. So, like an apple tree, it's not, you don't plant that. Or you can take an apple, it belongs to you.
If the tree belongs to you?
Yeah. I'm talking about when the land has to be laid fallow every 7 years. You don't plant corn, so it's not going to be growing. It doesn't grow wild. It has to be planted.
Right, I'm assuming the
rye,
7th year.
barley, everything. But, how are you going to find something wild? How are you going to find some wild wheat out in the woods? It doesn't happen. It has to be planted.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Good point. All right. So, number 12, orla.
Before 3 years on a tree.
So, fruits of the first 3 years. One who plants a fruit tree, whether in Eretz Israel or not, meaning also in Chutz La'aretz, may not eat any produce of the first 3 years' growth. One who replants a tree may also be required to wait 3 years before eating any of the fruits. We had this question, no? With the peach tree, I think.
Right.
So a competent local rabbi should be consulted. One should also consult a competent local rabbi to determine whether the 3 years have elapsed.
Well, the question I asked with regard to the peach tree was, do we start counting from when the tree began to grow? Because it was already growing for a few years in the pot. And, so when you plant it in the ground, it's already been growing maybe for 3, 4, 5 years. Or do you start counting like when you plant it in its current location?
Right. So one who replants a tree may also be required to wait 3 years before eating any of the fruits.
Answer.
Right. In addition, one should inquire about the particular dinim of the particular laws of a grapevine.
What are the laws?
Regarding orla. I'm not sure. I have to look into it. Okay. So two more categories. I just want to get through these two. This one is a little complicated. Chadash, number 13. What does chadash mean? So, new, good. Ein chadash tachas shemesh, right? That there's nothing new under the sun. So, but chadash means new. The Torah prohibits eating any of the 5 types of grain. Okay, what are the 5 types of grain? Hadass always comes up with these.
Wheat, barley, oats is not one.
Spelt.
Rye. Got one more.
Think breakfast foods. Oats.
Oh, I was going to say oats weren't. I wasn't
Right.
sure.
Okay, so wheat, barley, oats, spelt, and rye. So the Torah prohibits eating any of the 5 types of grain that took root after the 16th of Nisan until the following 16th of Nisan. So there is a difference of opinion whether the biblical prohibition applies to grains grown outside of Eretz Israel. There is therefore considerable controversy whether one must refrain from eating grain foods even outside of Eretz Israel. unless one can establish that they took root before the 16th of Nisan. It is not within the scope of this work to render a halakhic decision, since different contemporary authorities have opposing views on this matter. One should consult his competent local rabbi regarding the proper conduct on this subject. All right.
It's awfully difficult to
to
know when it was planted.
Right. There is therefore considerable controversy whether one must refrain from eating grain foods even outside of Eretz Israel, right? Unless one can establish that they took root before the 16th of Nisan. Okay, now the flip side of Chadash is called, does anybody know? You see it on the packages.
Yashin.
Yashan, right? Yashan, which means literally old. And that then means that it's not Chadash in this sense, right? It's not fresh grain. It's Yashan, and so it's okay to eat.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and so yeah, let's put it this way. Not very many people are machpid, meaning stringent, meaning particular about Yashan. So in the New York area, let's say.
So let's say you have grain, you don't know when it was planted, or you know it was planted like after that day, so you can't eat it. Can you feed it to your livestock that you may eat at a later time?
The barley,
Right.
I think so.
Okay, so you can eat an animal that ate the improper.
So
wheat or grain.
we are not, the Torah prohibits eating any of the 5 types of grain that took root
But
after
we
the
can eat an animal
16th.
that ate it.
Right. I mean, an animal's under no obligation to eat.
And it's not made less kosher for having eaten it.
Right.
Okay, just asking.
Okay.
That's still relevant today?
Yashan, yes, it is. It's still relevant. You'll see it on packages.
Is that only if you're in Israel or here?
Now, also here, you can, when you're buying some grains, so from sources, you'll see Yashan on them.
Because that came up a few times when I
Right.
was working for OK Kosher, and
Right,
I think there's different views on that.
definitely. Okay, number 14 and the last one, so these are biblically prohibited input ingredients, yain nesech.
Wine, that is,
We have
is
the
that not merushal?
we have the nisach hamayim, right? Nisachim we talk about in Musaf. So these are wine libations. So this is wine that was used for non-Jewish libations, for non-Jewish rituals. One may not drink or derive any benefit from wine that has been poured in a sacrificial manner to an avodah tzara, to an idol. In addition, this prohibition applies to anything served to an idol in a sacrificial manner. Other non-Jewish wines are forbidden through rabbinic injunction and will be discussed later. Okay, but because wine is used for ritual purposes, then it's an area of kashrus where which is very, very strict. So wine has to be literally in Jewish hands from beginning to end, from the planting until the bottling and the serving. Okay. So there are our categories of biblically prohibited foods. And, so if there are no further questions, then thank you everybody for coming.
Thank you.